Hello everyone, it's Paige from PB Fluid Art. I'm sorry I'm not in front of the camera today. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to do it all from behind the camera today. But I thought I'd have a little bit of fun. I've been wanting to do an abstract sunflower blowout. Kind of was inspired by Polly Prissy Pants, Sally. She does these beautiful sunflower blowouts. This one is a little bit different. It's kind of a test run. Doing it on a 4-inch tile. So I am spinning my pillow paint out to cover the entire tile. I don't want a whole lot of movement on this very small tile. So I'm going to blow out this pillow paint just as much as I can. And the pillow paint is Sherwin-Williams Color to Go in extra white. And I'm just going to spin this out and get it a little bit thinner so that it's covering my whole tile. And this is going to be probably a 2 or 3 step process with some drying in between some layers. The reason for that is I just don't want the center of my sunflower, which is going to be a darker brown, to bleed too much into the yellow petals. And again, this is a very abstract test run, so we're going to see how it goes. Okay, I think I've got my pillow paint out, spread out just as much as I can get it. So I am going to start layering some paint on here. Give me just a minute while I get it all together. And I'm going to be starting with some Liquitex burnt sienna, or actually it may be raw sienna, so I apologize. I'm also going to be using some Liquitex burnt sienna, also going to be using some golden Indian yellow hue, as well as Liquitex cadmium yellow light. So what I'm doing is I want my sunflower center to be off to the side. This is my golden Indian yellow hue going down, and I want a good amount of this color because this is such a beautiful true sunflower color. I believe you'd never see a sunflower that was extremely bright yellow. Even when the sun hits it, you can see some beautiful oranges and darker yellows and even some brown. I'm going to add just a little bit of the Liquitex cadmium yellow light just to give it some brightness. Pop a little bubble right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mini blower to blow out some petals. Again, I want it to look very abstract. It's not going to be the perfect sunflower. So I just want to spread some of this Indian yellow hue out, and I want it to catch a little bit of that burnt umber and that raw sienna. And you can see how this brown is bleeding up into the yellow, but I don't want too much of that because I still want the Indian yellow to be very prominent in the leaves. And before I do the center of the sunflower, I'm actually going to let this layer dry. I'm going to hit it with a heat gun because I want it to dry just a little bit. Again, that center is going to be a darker brown and have some black in it as well as some golden QNAG or quinacridone nickel azo gold. And I don't want all of that to bleed up into the leaves. So I'm going to continue to kind of work some of this brown up into the leaves, but not too far. And I'll be right back with you very shortly. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry just a little bit. May hit it with a heat gun. But I also want to define some of the petals. And this is where I actually made a little bit of mistake, because what I should have done was taken my skewer and drew in some petal definition before I hit it with the heat gun. Because if you look very closely, you can see where my white pillow paint wrinkled up. So that's a mistake that I made. So if you guys try to give this little sunflower technique a whirl, remember to define your petals with a skewer before you hit it with a heat gun, or else your pillow paint and some of your colors are going to start drying on you. So again, lesson learned, nothing is perfect in the world of abstract art, or even acrylic pouring for that matter. Okay, so I've let that dry just a little bit, and you can see that I've kind of marked my center with a cup right there. I just wanted to give the paint a little bit of an indentation. The reason for that is because I'm going to go back over the center with some burnt sienna, and I don't want to go beyond that circle. I don't want that circle to be totally perfect, and you'll see later that I'm actually going to soften that up a little bit. But I'm going to spread some of this burnt sienna around the center of the sunflower. And of course, because the paint underneath is almost dry, it's not going to bleed into that burnt sienna. And that's exactly what I want, because I want the center of my sunflower to be a very different contrast from those leaves. Or those petals, actually. Sorry, I'm thinking of autumn trees already. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's having a wonderful Labor Day. Gonna add just a little bit more to make that a little bit thicker. And also to catch the edges so that I can go around the edges of the tile. I've been wanting to do a sunflower for quite a while now. I've tried a couple of different techniques. Some haven't really worked well for me, but I think it's just because I don't have the proper dryer. The mini blower is great for small projects, but not for anything really bigger. And again, this is just a test run on a very small tile. So I want to see how this goes. And if I think it looks nice, I may try it on a bigger canvas later. But for today, we're just having some fun. Just spreading out some of that burnt sienna. And I'm actually going to let this dry just a little bit, but I'm also going to add a very soft ring of golden quinacridone nickel azo gold around the outer edge of the burnt sienna as well. So I'll let you guys have a watch. I'm going to shut my mouth for a minute. Just hitting it with a heat gun so I can get that center a little bit more dry before I add a few more steps. And this is actually going to end up being mounted on a mat board and framed for one of my local shops here in Chester where I live. I put some of my framed painted tiles in a shop here for consignment. So this is actually, they're displaying a lot of their fall and autumn decor right now. So this is going to fit in just fine. All right, so I'm just adding a little bit more burnt umber around the edge of the center because I want to soften that up. I don't want it to be a hard edge. So I'm just going to take a skewer and I'm just going to kind of soften that up around the edge of the center. You know how sunflowers look a little bit fuzzy in the middle a little bit? That big brown center, and it almost looks like it's a little bit hairy, but it's not hairy. It's just got a little fuzziness to it. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. It's just adding a little bit of fuzziness. I was actually lucky to have scored 3 bottles of the golden quinacridone nickel azo gold. It's my understanding that they're discontinuing that color and it's very hard to get right now. So here I'm just adding a very soft line of that golden quinacridone nickel azo gold just to kind of define that center a little bit. And then once I do that, I'm going to let that dry just a little bit, and I'm going to go back over the center with some little black dots, and you'll be able to see that in just a second. So I'm going to shut my mouth for a minute, enjoy the video, and I'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, so I'm just letting this all set and dry just a little bit. I've realized throughout this process that I don't know if I would totally call this acrylic pouring. I think it's a little bit of a mixture of acrylic pouring technique along with just some normal painting. or embellishment, if you will. Maybe what I'm doing to this sunflower with the center is embellishing the sunflower. I'm not really sure. And I do think the petals look really nice. I wish they had been just a little bit more natural. But again, that just might be, my experience. This is just my first sunflower, so I wanted to record it and see how it went. If I make some more, I'm sure that whole technique of blowing out the petals will get much better. So I'm going to begin to dot the very center of the sunflower with some very small little black dots. I don't want those black dots to bleed too much into this brown. I want the black dots to actually stand out a little bit. So I did hit that center with a heat gun before I laid down some black dots. And I'm not going to put the black dots on the entire center. I'm only going to do it about halfway up the center. And the black is just Liquitex Mars black. So I'm going to continue just to lay down these black dots, and I will be back with you very shortly.
I didn't expect. Little sibling rivalry I failed to take into account.
Shut up. Bring Piper back to life and I'll let you keep Leo's body. Refuse. I'll put that knife through his heart and send you back in the bottom forever.
Then your sister and her boyfriend would be dead. Not the world's smartest clam.
She's already dead. I have nothing left to lose.
Give me the bottle, and I'll bring her back.
Bring our sister back and we'll give you the bottle.
Okay, so I'm just continuing to define the center of the sunflower just a small bit with some black dots still. And as I sit here and I think about this, I almost wished that I had thrown in some pigments to the mix. I'm not really sure. I did not have any this little piggy Horizon Gold. I wish I did, but I do have this little piggy Cinnamon, but I wondered if it would be a tad too dark for this, and I was afraid if they bled up into the leaves would, I keep saying leaves, oh my goodness, I must be thinking of fall, because one of my favorite things in the fall are the colors of the leaves of the trees. So I've got leaves on my brain. Instead of saying petals, I keep saying leaves, but I was afraid that the cinnamon would bleed up into the petals too far and turn it more of a bronze color. But I might like to have used TLP Horizon, because maybe some orange would have looked nice. So maybe if I do this again very soon, I will try some orange in the mix at the base of the petals. I think that would look very, very nice. All right, so I'm just finishing up the center, and then I will probably hit that with a heat gun again, because I don't want those dots to possibly bleed into that burnt sienna. I'm going to let this dry, and then at the very end of this video, I will post a picture of the dry result. I hope you've all had a wonderful day. I hope you're enjoying your Labor Day weekend as well.
You okay?
I don't know.
Okay, so as this continues to dry,
And my life.
I will zoom in so that you can kind of get a closer look, and then I'm going to post the final picture at the end of the video. Thank you, everyone.